most of these big gig opportunities that are game changers or potential game changers for you will come at the last minute and it's like tomorrow. A lot of the times you get your opportunity as a fill-in. A big message to all of you listening is you're only as good as you are right now. Don't procrastinate. Don't assume that, oh, I'm going to get an audition for a gig and I'll have like 2 months to practice and get ready for it. It's like, no. If you got the gig offer right now, could you do it as great as they would expect?
You're listening to Music Growth Talks, the podcast for musicpreneurs with Andrew Apanov.
Hello everyone, Andrew Apanov here with a new edition of the Music Growth Talks podcast. We are having a conversation with the founder of Jammcard today, a very interesting social media platform for musicians, an invitation-only network. Most of you will not be able to create an account there just yet, but it's still very interesting and relevant. I will explain why in a second, but Elmo Lovano, the founder and the guest of today's episode, has a fascinating background as a musician himself. We didn't talk too much about his past on this show, so I just wanted to mention that he's been hustling in the music world since age 15, actually touring since age 15, and he has recorded and performed with the likes of Skrillex, Miley Cyrus, Juliette Lewis, Christina Perri, Avril Lavigne, and many more. I'm linking to his social media profiles in the show notes, so check him out as an artist. And Jammcard, of course, currently available only in 3 cities in the United States. It's Los Angeles, Nashville, and Atlanta. They're going to expand to more markets soon. And once again, it's invite only. And it helps performing session freelance musicians get gigs and play with A-list artists. And while the actual platform may not be available to many of you at this very moment, even for if you are in one of the cities named, be sure to fill out the form and at least apply for an account. The information that Elmo has shared on these episodes and the kinds of educational material they have on their website and the YouTube channel is priceless. They have a series called How I Landed the Gig on the website and the YouTube channel. I'm linking to it, and it's something that we talked about with Elmo as well. Some really interesting backstage stories from musicians. You don't get these kind of insights from anywhere else, really. So I recommend you checking out the resources after you listen to this episode, of course, because we talk about a lot of goodness with Elmo, from building a funnel as a musician, how to get discovered, how to use your social media profiles to attract the people looking for musicians, how to close a deal, how you want to be prepared to accept a deal tomorrow, the moment it comes, and networking in physical and digital world, a world with different advices and tricks from Elmo, and he of course shares quite a bit about the platform. Once again, it's really interesting to learn about Jammcard. There are not too many music startups, music companies out there that are so focused on musicians and the music community. So check it out, listen on for the full conversation with Elmo Lovano, the founder of Jammcard. Hope you enjoyed. Elmo, welcome to Music Growth Talks. I'm excited to welcome you to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I do want to start by talking about Jammcard. You know how to intrigue people. I signed up for an account 2 or 3 months ago and still not there, which is perfectly fine. I'm not exactly the 100% right audience for there, but I'm really intrigued by what you've created there. And before we talk about the many interesting things you've been doing around the project, would you mind telling us, a bit pitching us Jammcard?
Yeah, totally. And first of all, right now we're just in the US. We're really focused on quality over quantity in terms of our member base. We make sure that everyone is a vetted professional in the certain cities that we're launched in, but we will be expanding more. But I guess I said that before I even said what Jammcard is, if you're unaware. So Jammcard is the Music Professionals Network. We have an invite-only social network for vetted music pros. So Forbes wrote a story on us and said we're LinkedIn for the music industry. So there's a lot of crossover in terms of, what a platform like LinkedIn does, but ours is just completely focused on music and the music industry and the professional music community. So the app, you can build out your profile, which exactly has, all the records you've played on, the tours you've done, your skill sets. It also has status updates, in-app messaging. You can search for whatever you want and all that stuff.
And so one of the greatest selling propositions of the app is that it's used by very important people in the industry from what I see. So you've got a really cool network of professionals here. So the professional musicians who get onto the platform can actually end up getting gigs through Jammcard. Is that correct?
Yes, totally. And that's why, we're very particular about who becomes members, because we don't just want people to join and just have them. We really want to actually bring them benefit and bring them work and opportunities and stuff. So we kind of take in we feel we can handle and really bring value for. And it's been good. So yeah, we're currently in Los Angeles, Nashville, and Atlanta, all in the US, but we will be launching more cities this year for sure. 2019. Let's go.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that was my next question, just to set some expectations for our American listeners, and for everyone else. It's in any case a project to keep an eye on. It's really a very important piece of this whole confusing puzzle, which is the music industry, and networking for many professionals, for musicians in particular, is difficult because just for numerous reasons, really. And yeah, having a platform where you can connect with the right people is very important. And I do appreciate that you, pay a lot of attention to the quality here. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I really want to kind of tease the content you've been putting out, because I think that you've got an amazing series there of video interviews and blog posts, and it really is some good stuff. And I see that it gets a lot of traction already. And you've been interviewing some of the Jammcard members and talking about the different cool things related to their music gear and business aspects and things like that. It seems like you've been spending quite some time on putting this together.
Definitely. We actually have a very small team. People think our team is much bigger, but really we have a small team of completely focused people that are we're all, just obsessed with Jammcard and our community and doing whatever we can to build the network and build opportunities for our members. And part of the opportunities that we can build for our members is helping them tell their stories in unique ways. And that is what our content is, because since we are, so particular on who becomes a member of the app, we still want to, educate and bring value to just any musician or music lovers as well. So we're we have all these really great, professionals. Let's use them to help tell stories and kind of educate in a lot of areas that, music universities may not educate you in. We don't do, here's how you play this guitar chord or this drum beat. We don't do that. We more so do lessons of lifestyle on the musician, So we have a show called How I Got the Gig, which is a free web series. So you can go to our YouTube or our Facebook. It's Jammcard, 2 M's, 1 word, and all of our content's up there for free. So How I Got the Gig is an interview series where we interview pros on how they got their gig, straight from the horse's mouth. So, and then all different sorts of instrumentalists. So, there's David Ryan Harris on John Mayer. There's Morris Hayes on Prince. There's Victoria Theodore on Beyonce, Nita Strauss on Alice Cooper, Ray Luzier on Korn, Adrian X on Drake. So it crosses all genres, and different instruments. Brenda Lieger on Ray Charles and how she got to writing with him, and really, really cool stories in How I Got the Gig. You can also go to our website, which is jammcard.com, 2 M's, 1 word. You can go to jammcard.com/howIgotthegig. They're all right there. We have another show called Gear Goggles, where we go behind the scenes to bands' production rehearsals or to their sound checks and kind of run through the gear that they're using. But once again, less about, oh, how do you get that tone, and more about like, what's a production rehearsal really like? What is, your sound check, and what's it like on the road with you guys? What's the relationship with the music director, or if you're the music director, what's your relationship with the band, and like kind of all that stuff. So that's a fun show too. We've done that one we did that at Kendrick Lamar rehearsal for the Grammys. We did that at Tears for Fears rehearsal. We have one actually coming out, I believe, next week. Shakira on stage at the Forum doing sound check with Shakira and her whole band. Excuse me, and Brendan Buckley in particular, who's been her drummer for 20 years. And, we talk about how he's kept the gig for 20 years and the secrets of keeping a gig that long without ever being replaced, which is very hard to do in the freelance world. A lot of times these touring players, you can get replaced every tour or in the middle of the tour or whatever it may be. So
yeah.
So there's that show. What else do we have? We have now these exclusives that we put up that can be, Bruno Mars's drummer Eric Hernandez drumming to 24 Karat Magic, or like Kehlani's band rehearsing at soundcheck and showing the instrumentals without them and all their really cool arrangements that they do and all that stuff. So yeah, there's several series in there, and we have more. We have more coming out. Oh, and of course, I'm forgetting the Jam Jam. So the Jam Jam is our members only event, and it's super fun, and we do it at pop-up locations. And we don't say where it's going to be until the day of, and we only talk about it in the Jammcard app. So so we just did Terrace Martin with Kamasi Washington and Ronald Bruner Jr. and just like really fantastic band at United Recording, which was, it is a legendary recording studio that actually is now the Jammcard office as well here in Hollywood. And then we just did a massive drummer one with Aaron Spears and Kaz Rodriguez and Matt Garska, Luke Holland, Devin Taylor, Rico Nichols, Thaddeus Dixon. I'm a drummer myself. We did Ty Dolla $ign at Capitol Records with Mike Moore and this whole crazy band. We did Stevie Wonder's band at the original Tower Records on Sunset with Brandon Brown, like all these cats. So it's like so fun. And then we filmed them all and we released them. So a lot of them, once again, go to our YouTube or our website, and some of them are in 360. So you can like spin all the way around and watch, because we set all the gear up in a circle facing in like a recording session, but with the crowd directly on top of them. So it really creates great energy. It shows like camaraderie. There's the lead, any instrument, because everyone's equal. There's no like center stage in the front. Everyone has their own. Right. It's a circle, Yeah. So it really creates this like fair atmosphere that, a lot of times musicians are behind an artist or whatever. So this is like, Jammcard's ecosystem. We're about the musicians first and foremost, and not just the musicians, but the engineers, the producers, the songwriters, even like the tour managers, the production managers, the lighting directors, the front of house guys, all that stuff. So guys and girls, of course. So so it's really, we're a supportive community. A big thing behind us is showing that the people behind the stars are stars too, and kind of proving that and kind of becoming a safe space for, all these pros that a lot of the times, get put in the shadow. We're about to watch, the Grammys are this Sunday. So depending on when this episode comes out, maybe a couple days before or whatever, week before. But, the Grammys are like, oh, the biggest night in music, yet you just see singers and then a bunch of musicians behind them in the shadows.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, which to me, exactly what's wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought you said music, why are the musicians in the background? Why would it hurt to put the musicians at least not in the shadows? That's fine if they're standing behind them, but like, why gotta black them out too? Come on. So, or even worse these days, a lot of times putting the most unbelievable musicians behind LED walls.
Oh,
So anyway, so we're kind of, we stick up for those people and really just show them love and support and help them any way we can, because like I said, I'm a drummer. I was one of those people up until I started this company. I still am. I played a show last night, but I'm focused on Jammcard, on building the company. But like, these are my people.
Yeah. No, what you're doing is great. And by the way, everything you talked about in terms of the videos and the different resources you've got, we are linking to them in the show notes. So no worries. You've shared so much cool stuff. So I could keep asking you about everything. Jam, really cool idea. I would love to be on one of the shows, but really smart on keeping it invitation only and for the community. That does make sense.
I got you, bro. Next time you're in a city where Jam is, you're on the list, bro. You got to come out.
Here we go. Everyone heard that. So thank you. I appreciate it. So no, I appreciate it. So How I Got the Gig will be the most popular series among our listeners. I guarantee that. So this is the first thing they will go and check out. It's really relevant to what we talk about here on the podcast. Can you give us maybe a few examples or maybe the most common scenario of a musician landing that important gig? So maybe approximately how many years they've been working as session musicians before that, or any interesting insights that you think could be actionable to other musicians.
Yes, totally. So there are some key similarities, but one thing that is not similar with anyone is the amount of time they've been striving to do that. So certain people, everyone has their own unique story. Certain people, it took them 20 years of building their career and their craft until they finally got the gig. Other people were like a few years, like we did Josh Devine on One Direction, which, One Direction at the time was the biggest band in the world. They broke like 20 world records or something, like some unbelievable amount of records. And Josh had never had a gig, like a touring gig, like a pro gig before that. And he got called, and it was his very first gig, was literally arenas, like straight to arenas. And pretty much the same thing with Rico, with Kendrick Lamar. He got called, and got the gig and was like pretty much straight to arenas. Obviously everyone was practicing in their bedroom, practice spaces, and building their craft. But in terms of like professional touring, some people just jump straight into that. Other people, spend years in the van, and then like really trying to build one step at a time. And like I said, everyone has a different story, but the common link is it's really about who you know and who knows you. And the other common link is that most of these big gig opportunities that are game changers or potential game changers for you will come at the last minute, and it's like tomorrow, right? Like it's like, because, and the same thing happened for me. A lot of the times you get your opportunity as a fill-in, like, oh, our drummer or our guitar player broke his leg, or I don't know, got sick or whatever. Like, we need someone to do this show tomorrow. Can you learn? It's a 1 hour set, so, or it's in like 2 days or 3 days, or at the most next week, so I would say a big message I would say to all of you listening is you're only as good as you are right now, so, and I would say take that as inspiration of don't procrastinate. Don't assume that, oh, I'm going to get this opportunity. Like maybe like, oh, I'm going to get an audition for a gig and I'll have like 2 months to practice and get ready for it. It's like, no, if you got the gig offer right now, could you do it as great as they would expect or hope, because, and a lot of them are even day of. I've had opportunities. Actually, the show I did last night was a big opportunity, and I got called the night before. It was 7 p.m. They're like, we need you 7 p.m. tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And last night was like a private party, and it was with John Mayer and Pharrell and Haim and all these people for Ron Perry's birthday, the chairman of Columbia. So it's like, if I wasn't ready, I couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So just be ready, be hungry. You never know when an opportunity is going to strike. That opportunity always strikes when you're not expecting it. So just be as good as you can right now. Don't be like, oh, tomorrow I'll be better, next week, next month, whatever. I'm going to start this. Like wherever you're at right now is where you're at. And all that stuff, the music industry is very last minute.
Yeah.
Like most of those opportunities are like, on the, on the label side or whatever side are like, oh, panic, we need someone right now or tomorrow or next week. So practice your butt off, study, learn whatever you can, even if you're not in LA or in a major music market or whatever, like watch the Jammcard content, watch any content you can that like kind of really lets you know what the atmosphere is going to be like so you can be as prepared as possible. And the other thing that we go into a lot with the Brendan Buckley episode on Shakira is be cool, be nice, don't act like you're the star, like make everyone feel around you that they're important, and everyone's equal, and that'll go far.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good life advice that you can apply to day-to-day activities. So what you mentioned about the being in the cities, I really wanted to get your opinion on that as well. So there is a number of music industry hubs in the US where, well, you are currently active in some of them. So what chances do musicians have not being located in these kind of hubs from your experience, where someone is called in to just fly over, to LA to perform somewhere, but they are in a place with not that developed music scene? Or like, how important is it to be in Nashville, LA, New York, Atlanta, and so on?
Totally. So essentially, go back to where I said it's all about who you know and who knows you, right? So there's two ways that you can be known or know somebody. Number one, in the physical world, you live in LA, you're surrounded by these people in LA. Number two, the digital world, right? Our internet, Jammcard, Instagram, all these other platforms, right? So if you're not in that physical city, then that just leaves option number two for you, right? Which is the digital world. So how you can be as productive as possible is by focusing on your digital presence, right? Like, what is your digital image? Elmo the drummer or whatever you are, you're focused in that. So when I hear about you, like if someone hits me up and I'm like, yo, I need a new guitar player. And they're like, oh, check out my friend Andrew. He plays guitar. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, and like, let's say you're not in the Jammcard city. So I'm like, all right, what's his Instagram? All right. So then I go to your Instagram. If I don't see a video of you playing guitar or whatever your skill is in that first scroll, I'm not going to dig.
Yeah.
Because there's other options that's way easier to find. So I'm not going to dig. And then if I do see one, you have about 3 seconds of my attention in order to engage me, right? So make that video as clean as you can. And you don't need crazy production. I don't even look for that. I just want to see like a clean, well lit video that you can even shoot on your iPhone or your Android. That's like clear. Oh, here's this person playing. Here's their sound, here's their style. And you can tell quickly, I'm a music director. I can tell in seconds, if you have good technique, if you have good timing, if you have good tone. Those are all things that are very easy to determine, which are the main things that you're looking for in a gig. So the other thing would be, if it's not Instagram, if I Google you, can I find you? So focus on your own personal SEO keywords, and depending on what your name is, that'll be easier or harder for you. But make a website, make that website simple. Don't give me 20 options of things to click through, make it like, okay, I do this. Here's a little bit about me, and really present yourself in an honest way, but in the best way you can, which is just clean, compared like in business, you make a funnel, right? On these like websites, you're familiar with this as an entrepreneur.
Definitely.
So it's like, what is the path that you want the person finding you to like go down and see, like, okay, this is my best video. I want them to see this. And this is my second best video. I want them to see this. This is my biggest accolade or thing, whether it's like, oh, I went to Berkeley or I did this, or like, just put that there. It's enough for me to be like, okay, this person, well, yeah, I'll consider this person, so if you're in one of those cities where there's a lot of opportunity, then you have that as a benefit and you have your digital world. But if you're not in one of those cities where there's a lot of opportunity, then just focus on your digital world. Because I do hear all the time, like, one of my friends, Kaz, for example, is a drummer in London, unbelievable musician. His Instagram following is growing, and just his following in general, I think he's about to hit 100,000 followers or whatever. But Josh Groban found him on Instagram or YouTube or one of those things and was like, oh, this guy's great. Even though I'm in LA, I really love this guy's sound. And artists like that can afford to bring someone to LA or to wherever they are.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, it's not all just to America. I have friends here in LA that are amazing musicians that get plucked to do gigs in Eastern Europe from an Eastern European artist that's not really known internationally, but domestically they're very big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it goes both ways, or in Asia or wherever it may be, So, but that's all because your digital presence right there.
Yeah, I like your advices here. They're actionable, and it's important to take care of all your platforms, in my opinion. Sometimes musicians assume that they can have control over how exactly they will be discovered, like preparing a press kit, which may be useful, but in most cases, the professionals that might be interested in you won't end up even getting it. They will just look you up on Instagram, just as you mentioned. I don't think that every musician out there still has this like understanding of the importance of their social media presence, not just for building a fan base and finding listeners, but for business networking as well. But speaking of press kits, actually, so EPKs, like one sheets and things like that, old school, still relevant? What's your opinion?
Yeah, one sheets are good. It's definitely old school. I would think that's step 2. Step 1 would be, the social layer that everyone can access. Because step 2, the EPK only comes from when someone is like, hey, I like what I saw, send me more.
Yeah.
Or unless you're strictly communicating with someone over email. But, even then, I feel like if you're a musician, an Instagram or Jammcard or a YouTube can show you better than a one sheet, because a one sheet is text, right? So if we're speaking music, got to have that audio. And then EPKs, like in terms of a video EPK, is cool if it's well done, but it's very hard to do well.
True.
So I would say the other thing in terms of EPK and in terms of your image and your digital identity, as we were talking about, is really hone into yourself and think of like what your dream gig is. Because I'll ask people all the time, what's your dream gig? You can have any gig in the world right now. What is it? And most people freeze. They're like, I don't know. I'm like, you should know that answer, because that's the path that you should head towards.
Yeah.
Right. If your dream gig is Foo Fighters, right? Let's just say you should put Foo Fighters, not just I want to play in arenas, but I want to play in arenas with the Foo Fighters, right? Because then you can at least move towards that image and everything about you, the kind of songs you're playing to, the kind of content you're putting out, all that kind of stuff. Because if not, a thing that I see all the time that even happened to me is you're like, oh, I want to play arenas. And you're like, okay, cool. Next thing you know, you're playing arenas with a country artist and you're like, I don't like country music, but I took it because it's paying me and it's arenas. But then you get there and you're like, shoot, like I'm close to my dream, but I'm not actually there because I'm in the wrong genre. Right. And that's just an example. It can be rap or whatever isn't your path directly. Right. So like think about who you would love to work with, because let's say it's Foo Fighters again. And you're like, I want to be in the Foo Fighters. So you keep driving towards that and your image and everything. And then it's like, oh, Queens of the Stone Age has an availability. You're like, oh, I'll take that too. That's in my wheelhouse. Like these are extreme examples, obviously, but it happens.
Not bad examples. I wouldn't mind doing something with either of these bands. No, I got you. I got your points. It does make sense. So we've got a funnel. You mentioned the funnel. Okay, so search engine, social media, a layer, very important. And I like the emphasis you put on Instagram in particular. There is also YouTube. We can consider it a social media platform in a way. And then you may start communicating with someone. You want to reply as quickly as possible, because most probably if someone hit you up, they need a gig yesterday. And then if they're asking for more information, you still want to have something ready to show that you have a professional approach to that and have something formal to show them. Totally. What happens on the, like, how to close a deal? I mean, clearly a difficult question, but you mentioned being open, honest, cool earlier. What other advice you would give for email communication, for example, or being on a call, like playing a bit like cooler, or like, is there room for making it up a little bit, or being completely honest, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think honesty is good, because if you exaggerate anything and then you get the gig and they're like, you said you had this or that and then you don't, that's bad.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, I think more things what people look for that that you should have in terms of your preparation is have a passport.
Yeah.
Because once again, let's say they're like, oh yeah, let's say you're in Chicago and they're like, oh yeah, we're hiring you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. We need you to do this tour. It's in 10 days. It starts in London, right? If you don't have a passport, you're not going to be able to get one in 10 days, right? Maybe it's going to cost you way too much money. You don't have that much money, or whatever it may be, so all the different things you can do to be ready is that. Don't lie about your resume ever. Don't exaggerate, but also don't underestimate yourself. So I would, believe in yourself and see what you have, and then also just try to build the most assets you have. A good asset is having great equipment, so save up and get the gear of your dreams or whatever that sounds good for what you want to do, you know? So yeah, I mean,
no, that's good.
It doesn't need to be crazy, Don't go over the top, because you don't want to seem like too eager either. You want to be hungry. And you said a great thing, which is like, yeah, if I email you or someone emails you or texts you or whatever, better. I mean, you got early bird gets the worm, right? So you got to eat that immediately, because I could be like, I need a guitar player. This is this. I hit up 4 people. If one of them responds to me instantly, I'm already in communication with them. If you respond the next day, I could have already hired that person.
Yeah.
So, and then you're like, oh, sorry, I'll consider you for next time. And then you're going to be like, oh, great. And that was just because I was, my girlfriend wanted to go to dinner and then I had to hang with her family, whatever. Respond to people. It doesn't have to be instantly, but like you should, if you're a musician, really treat it like you use the word musicpreneur, which I like, right? Like you're an entrepreneur. Like if you're a drummer, bass player, singer, artist, whatever you may be, you are representing yourself until you have representation. So you have to be your own manager. And the better you are at being a manager, the better you're going to be at work and getting work. So respond to people, be communicative, give them what they ask for as quick as possible, be kind and respectful. And then, closing the deal, I guess you asked about, would be like getting the gig, so there's a different process for everybody with that. But the more things that you have aligned, if you can answer all their questions and give them what you want or what they want fast, you have a great chance.
Do you have to have a lawyer, work with a lawyer to review the contract and stuff, or usually it's not really required for session musicians?
For session musicians, if you're doing a recording, it should, I mean, if it's on a major label, it's going to be union or industry standard anyways.
Yeah.
If it's an independent artist or an unsigned artist, then you have wiggle room to negotiate. But in terms of a recording, I mean, really there's 2 questions. It's like, are you getting paid just as a contractor, freelancer, and you're just getting paid a flat session rate? Or are you also getting songwriting credit, mechanical royalty, or neighboring rights? Like, are you getting a point or a fraction or any percentage of the song, or are you just getting paid to do your work?
Yeah.
And there's, both things happen still today. So got to know what that is. In terms of tour, yeah, they'll give you a contract. Dude, look, if someone hands you a contract, it's always great to have a lawyer review it.
Yeah.
I would definitely encourage that, just so you can even understand, because a lot of times, it's in legalese and you're like, I don't know what this means, but you don't want to be like, I don't know what this means, I'm just going to sign it, because you want to know what you're getting into.
Yeah. So
So do you need a lawyer ahead of time? You don't need one ahead of time. Is it good to have one in your back pocket? Totally.
Yeah. That's a good advice, essentially. Clearly, you don't need to have a lawyer on a retainer all the time, but just knowing someone might help, and educating yourself at this stuff. There is a bunch of books that can at least get you introduced to the confusing legal terms in the music industry. Some things change all the time, but still there is a bunch of resources for that.
Everything you need to know about the music industry, get the newest edition.
Yeah. This is I think my first music industry book.
Yep.
There is and so to everything you mentioned, practicing also. You mentioned it earlier in the conversation. It's clearly very crucial to be good at your craft because this is the only way you will end up with any kind of cool music gigs. So that I guess is just something that goes without saying. Although I guess you recommend getting practice through different smaller gigs and not just sitting in your garage and playing. So
play with people.
So just as expected, but wanted to confirm that. So yeah, sounds like a lot of hustle, but definitely something that's
like I said, you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah.
Like you're not the only one trying to do what you're doing. Yeah. So you got to be as good as you possibly can, right? And why not try to be better every single day? So if you want to be a drummer, you should be drumming every day. If you want to be a guitar player, you should be playing guitar every day because there's other people that are. Or whatever instrument it may be, or whatever. Even if you're, want to be a music lawyer, you should be drafting contracts and reviewing contracts every day. Get good at that.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, because it'll just become you, and when it becomes you, then people can see when it's time for you to do that audition or that meeting or whatever. It'll seep out of you naturally. It'll be organic. People can see your passion, and people resonate with passion. And authenticity. So I think that's like the secret sauce in Jammcard is we're not a tech company started by tech people because there was a market that was identified. It's like I started Jammcard because I'm a drummer and a music director and I really wanted these things. So the authenticity and the passion, like people resonate with that. So do that.
Yeah. No, good. Absolutely. Great advice, and going back to the recommendation you gave earlier, it makes a lot of sense for musicians listening to us to go to your web properties and check out the interviews you put out, some really high quality content and great additional advice. So I want our listeners to stay hungry for more information from you. And let me know if you have any additional tip or advice to our listeners, or maybe you want to tease something else you're working on for the next half a year or for 2019 besides what you already mentioned.
Yeah, I would say first of all, wherever you are, follow us, on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, hit our website, and message us. Let us know where you're at and where you want us to come, because we're listening, and we're kind of like, we're determining right now what our next cities are. So it's like, and we're going to go, where the demand is. So follow us on our socials, hit us up, keep up to date with us, and talk to us. We respond to people, and we're listening. And also my personal page, besides Jammcard, you can follow me. I'm Elmo Lovano, Lovano. And Jammcard is far more active. Jammcard posts every day on Instagram. I don't always do that because I'm got to run the company, but but I'm fairly active as well. So, hit us up and let us know where you want us to come, and keep in touch.
Yeah, we appreciate that for sure. And once again, to anyone listening, we're linking to everything, to all the social media profiles and the website and the YouTube channel and all that stuff in the show notes. So so many actionable tips here. I love that. So really the kind of stuff I like getting out of my guests on this podcast. So Elmo, appreciate what you've shared. Let's keep in touch. We will be keeping an eye on the platform, and I wish it turns into even bigger success than it is now already.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate that, man. Good talking with you.
Thanks to Elmo once again, and I hope all of you guys enjoyed this conversation. If you have any feedback, be sure to let Elmo know on Instagram, on Twitter. He's really active on social media, so just tag him or leave a comment on his photo or video on Instagram, whatever you prefer. I'm pretty sure he will appreciate that, and feel free to tag me as well, all as usual. And if you have feedback, just hit me up via email or a comment as well. Yeah, and just as a reminder, if you haven't subscribed to this podcast yet, if you're just listening to it because of the newsletter, or maybe it's the first episodes of Music Growth Talks that you discovered and you haven't been subscribed just yet, it really is the best way not to miss a new show. So just go to musicgrowthtalks.com for the links to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, subscribe in the app you're using for podcasts, whatever it is, and never miss a new episode. And as a side note, I think about these podcasts we're creating as something that is relevant to different kinds of musicians. I like when my episodes are focused on one segment, let's say one type of creative, so it's perfectly fine if you see a new title of an episode, you read the description and see that it may not be necessarily relevant to you. I still would recommend listening to it, because usually we talk about so many different things on Music Growth Talks, so beyond what is in the description or the title. But watch out for new episodes, and there will almost certainly be something that speaks to you and to what you do, to what kind of a musician, a producer, an artist you are. And if it happens that you don't see anything interesting for too many episodes, just let me know. Once again, I really appreciate your feedback and will be glad to consider doing an episode on the topic that you asked me to cover. Thank you all, and till the next episodes of Music Growth Talks.
You've been listening to Music Growth Talks with Andrew Apanov. Find more episodes and subscribe at musicgrowthtalks.com.